We do. I mean, let's be honest, all right? All of you guys haven't been saved all your life. Some of you guys still aren't saved. Some of you guys are borderline saved. All right, think back to when you were 18. Think back to when you were 19. Think back to when you were 21. What were you going after? I guarantee it wasn't Jesus. Guarantee you wasn't here in church. Most of us were going after women. All right, the idea was as many women as I can get, as many numbers as I can get, as many experiences as I can have, that's what I'm going to do. Some of us were going after money. We were money motivated, driven by the dollar sign, trying to increase the bottom line, money at all costs. A lot of us were going after power and prestige and position. And you know why that is? Let me give you a little nugget here. We're hunters by nature. We're not satisfied unless there's something to hunt for. You don't believe me? Try to give a man directions when he's lost. And you'll discover, no, I don't want those directions. That's partly because of ego and partly because we like to go after things. If we don't know where it is, we're going to hunt for it. And then when we find it, we're going to sit back in our seat. We're going to say, see, I told you I can find it. You just needed to sit down and say, I got this. We're hunters by nature. So all throughout life, we were hunting. We were going after something. But this text is remarkable because you have thousands of men that joined David not to go after women, not to go after power, not to go after prestige. Thousands of men hooking up with David, discovering that the very first thing that we're going to go after is the presence of God. I wonder how quickly our communities would change. I wonder how quickly the schools would change. I wonder how quickly our children would change. If men got together and decided the things that we've been going after are not worth it. The things that we've been pursuing are not worth it. But from this day forward, the number one thing that we're going to go after is the power and the presence of God. We're going to bring God into our homes. We're going to bring God into our communities. We're going to bring God into our situations, because I realize that if God stays in my mind, then the enemy can't attack it. So I'm going to go after God with every ounce of strength and power that's within me. I think this is a wonderful and beautiful place for men to be. Broken to the point where they say, I've gone after everything else. This is the moment that I reshift my focus and I go after God. And fellas, let me tell you something. There's nothing, and ladies, I need you to vouch for me. You're here, you love the Lord. There's nothing more attractive to women than a man that's on fire for God. Amen. Than a man that's seeking his presence. As a matter of fact, all right, let's go there real quick. Turn to Genesis chapter 3 real quick, but I want you to keep your finger in 1 Chronicles chapter 12. Look at this. I want to show you something that's going to blow your mind. Now, Genesis chapter 3 is amazing because that's when the serpent came in, he deceived Eve, and Eve ate the fruit, gave the fruit to Adam, Adam ate the fruit, sin into the world. God came in, asked them what they were doing, all that stuff happened. God pronounces a curse. 3 curses actually. He pronounces a curse on the serpent first. We know the curse that he pronounced. The serpent was going to crawl on his belly. Second, he pronounces a curse on the woman. Third, he pronounces a curse on the man. Look at what's in the curse for the woman. This is good. You're going to be like, whoa, are you serious? Watch this. This is a part of the curse that he pronounced on the woman. Look at verse 16. To the woman he said, I will greatly increase your pains in childbearing. With pain you will give birth to children. Watch this. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. That's a part of the curse. That a woman's desire would be for her husband is a part of the fallen contract that was entered into once Adam and Eve fell. That seems kind of strange, but I thought by nature we were supposed to desire, the woman was supposed to desire her husband. Explain that for me, Pastor Isaiah. I'm glad you asked me. Women initially were created to only desire God. Adam was created in the image of God. Adam looked like God. Adam had dominion that was allocated to him by God. It was the woman's desire to be with God. She was only attracted to the man because he looked like the God that she loved. Once sin entered into the world, the desire shifted. But let me tell you something. It's still inside of a woman to find somebody that looks like God. It's still inside of a woman to have a desire and a yearning and a burning for somebody that has the attributes, for somebody that walks and talks and has the mannerisms of the God that we serve. It was a curse for the woman to desire the man because initially she was only supposed to desire God, and the man was to do everything within his power to look like the God that she desired. Hey fellas, if you want your woman to desire you, look more like God. And as you begin to look more like God, she'll begin to desire you more because she was created to desire God first.
Right.
Going after God, fellas, is something that all of these men got together and decided this is what we're going to do. But it wasn't just any old group of men that connected with David. Verse 38 tells us that it was a specific group of men. And I want to extrapolate some of the characteristics of these men and kind of lift this as what every single man in here should strive to be like mentally. They had some wonderful attributes, these men that followed David. And I believe, fellas, if we can adopt these attributes also, then it will help us to become more like God and to possess these three things that I talked about earlier. Verse 38. It says, all of these were fighting men who volunteered to serve in the ranks. Let me stop right there. They came to David with a fighting background. They came to David as skilled, trained warriors ready to go to battle. Notice that these men didn't come to David needing any type of war acumen. They knew war. They had it in their minds. They had been involved in it for years. They came to David as fighting men. Let me share something with you, fellas. There are two types of men in this room, in this world right now. Two types. There are fretters, and then there are fighters. Fretters are the men that complain. Fretters are the men that walk around like victims. Fretters are the men that have excuses. Fretters are the ones that have every reason why they don't rise to occasion, every reason why they're not being the father or the husband or the boss or the whatever they're supposed to. They're fretters. They've always got an excuse and a reason behind their shortcomings, their flaws, and their inconsistencies. How many of you guys in here know some fretters? Some men that just walk around with woe is me stories, always got an excuse. You ask them, why do you drink so much? Well, my daddy drank, and his daddy drank, and his daddy drank, and his daddy drank, so that's all I know, so I'm going to drink. Every single question you ask them, they have an excuse behind it. Those are fretters. Fellas, we don't have time to play the victim card. We don't have time to look at our past. And yes, we've experienced some unfortunate things in our past. We have. We've been involved in some awful things. Maybe we came from a single parent family. Maybe we came from a broken family. Maybe all sorts of stuff happened to us that really, impeded our progress. But time is out for us to bring 1972 into 2010. We've been doing that for too long. Eventually we have to stand up and say, what happened to me was unfortunate. What I dealt with was awful and horrible, and it feels bad to this day when I think about it, but I'm not going to let it keep me down. I'm not going to let it be a lid. I'm not going to let it to define who I am. I'm not going to live life with all of these excuses. Well, my daddy was like this, and the neighborhood I'm from, and I just have anger issues, and I just have these problems. And no, there comes a time, fellas, when we put the fretting away and we take responsibility for the choices that we made, good and bad, that we stand up and we declare, you know what? I'm going to own my life. I'm going to own my situation. Where I am in life is a sum total of the choices that I've made. Yes, there have been some factors that have gone into the choices that I've made, but ultimately I'm decided to do. That's what men do. Men don't sit here. If you've ever watched a post-game interview in the NFL with a coach, the coach will come out, all of the reporters will be standing there, and the reporters will be asking questions. If the coach lost, the reporters will be asking all types of questions. Are you happy with the way that your quarterback played? Did your offensive line hold up? Are you happy with the routes that your receivers were running? What could you have done differently to win the game? Any coach worth his salt will stand in front of the reporter and say, you know what? Quarterback played bad. Receivers played bad. People on the field played bad. But ultimately, we lost because of me. Ultimately, we failed because there was a flaw in the coaching. I'm not going to put it on my quarterback. I'm not going to put it on my receivers. I'm not going to put it on my running back. Ultimately, guess what? I'm the coach, and the buck stops with me. We can learn a lot from somebody that stands up and says, it was me. And fellas, if we're going to avoid being a fretter, we're going to have to look at our lives. All of the choices that we've made. Kids out of wedlock, breaking into wherever, all the stuff that we've done. And we're going to have to account for it. And ultimately, we're going to have to introspectively look and say, you know what? Things happened to me that were unfortunate, but I'm here today because I chose to be. I'm in this situation because I've catapulted myself, I've thrusted myself into this situation. And if I'm going to get out of this situation, I've got to stop blaming and pointing fingers. Because guess what? When I point one finger this way, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pointing back at me. There's fretters and then there's fighters. Fighters are the ones that say, I grew up in the ghetto, but so what? My dad was abusive, but so what? I never ever really got to see a good example of a man, but so what? You know, what seems like I can't get a good job, but I'm still going to fight. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to fight. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to be like that boxer in the 12th round that's been getting his head beat in all 11 rounds. But in the 12th round, he decides somewhere, somehow, I'm not going to lose this fight. So he has to change his stance. He has to change the way he swings. But he does whatever he needs to do to stay alive in the fight. A fighter is somebody that doesn't even have a towel to throw in. A fighter is somebody that absolutely will not give up regardless of the circumstance, regardless of the situation. A fighter is somebody that when the chips are down, finds some more chips and puts some chips in the barrel so that chips won't be down anymore. A fighter is somebody with the strength and the resolve to keep pressing and to keep going. These men that came to David were fighting men. Men of war. They had scars. They came with weapons. And see, this is the thing, fellas. This is something that I don't understand a lot of times. A lot of us grew up fighting. I'm talking physically. We grew up. Somebody said something. We were the first to jump in. Grew up. Maybe we have brothers. Had to fight all our brothers. Maybe we lived in neighborhoods where, you know, walking home, somebody said you had to fight. And if you went home and your mom and your dad found out that you didn't fight, you got whooped. You know what I mean? Some of us grew up in that atmosphere. We grew up as fighters. And physically, we have that reaction. Where it's like somebody say something, I'm going to fight. Physically, we're ready to fight. But emotionally and spiritually and mentally, a lot of times we don't have that same physical trigger. We don't have that same unction that we have. If another dude stepped up to you and said some words, you'd be ready to knuckle up real quick and swing. But yet when the enemy comes in your house, when the enemy attacks you at your job, you don't have that same reaction. You don't have that same, let me roll up my sleeves. Okay, nah. The enemy's not just going to come in here and trick me. Why don't we apply the same reaction that we have physically to our spiritual, emotional, and mental life? We're ready to go toes with somebody if they say something wrong physically, but when the enemy comes in like a flood, fellas,